6 weeks before my granddaughter's wedding, my son set an index card beside my supper plate and told me to sign a confession saying I had turned Lila against her fiancé. The only way to prove him wrong was to repeat what Lila had trusted me not to tell. I turned the card face down, said I would not sign it, and sent Lila the one sentence we had agreed on. My car is available. Mark stared at my phone as if I had just confirmed every charge on the card. "You're doing it now," he said. His wife Paula sat opposite me with both hands around a glass of water. Neither of them had taken off a coat. They had not come for supper, though I had a pot of vegetable soup on the stove and 3 bowls on the table. They had come to get my name beneath a statement they had already written. The top line said, "I allowed my personal feelings about Owen with Lila's happiness." Below that, I was supposed to admit that I had encouraged Lila to question her wedding, kept conversations secret from her parents, and exaggerated normal disagreements between an engaged couple. The last sentence promised I would support the marriage without further interference. "That is not a confession," I said. "It is an agreement to stop listening to her." Paula closed her eyes. "June, please don't turn every word into a courtroom." I had spent 31 years at the information desk in the Bell Creek courthouse. I had given people forms, room numbers, and directions to offices. I had never worn a robe, argued a case, or had the authority to tell anyone what the law would do for them. What I had learned was simpler. When frightened people arrived with 5 questions at once, the useful thing was to find out which choice still belonged to them. Mark knew that. He also knew I disliked anyone pretending my old desk made me a lawyer. "This is my dining table," I said, "and Lila is 27. She was happy until she started spending lunch breaks with you." My phone gave one quiet vibration. Lila had replied with a single period. That period was our arrangement. It meant she had seen my message. It did not mean "come get me." It did not mean "call." Most of all, it did not mean I had permission to explain her life to the 2 people across from me. I looked at the dot on the screen and understood what the card was really for. Mark and Paula were not only trying to settle an argument about a wedding, they were trying to close the one conversation with Lila that none of them could supervise. 2 weeks earlier, Lila had asked me to meet her at the cafe inside the public library where she worked. She was a reference assistant, good at helping people who remembered the color of a book but not its title. That afternoon, she kept peeling the paper sleeve from her coffee cup in one narrow strip. "Can I ask you for something without you asking why?" she said. "You can ask. That isn't a yes. I don't know what it is yet." She gave a small laugh. It disappeared quickly. "If I need a ride," she said, "could you come to the employee lot? Not the front entrance, the lot by the loading door." "Yes." "Even if it's late?" "Yes." "Even if I tell you not to come, then change my mind?" I put my hand flat on the table, not over hers. "You may change your mind as many times as you need. What words should I use?" We settled on, "My car is available." It was an offer, not an order. A period meant she had received it. The word "now" meant I should drive to the library lot and wait for her instructions. Only after we had agreed on that did I ask whether she wanted to tell me anything else. "Owen says married people shouldn't keep separate passwords," she said. "What do you say?" "I say I have patron information in my work email, and I don't share that password with anybody." "And your personal accounts?" She twisted the last of the paper sleeve around one finger. "I don't want him reading every conversation. He says wanting privacy makes it look like I'm preparing to leave." I waited. "He wants me to quit after the honeymoon," she said. "He travels. He says it makes no sense for both of us to have fixed schedules." "Do you want to quit?" "No." It was the quickest answer she gave me. I asked if she wanted advice. She said she wanted a door she could use without first winning an argument about whether she deserved one. I told her my spare room was open for as long as she needed to decide what came next. I did not call Owen names. I did not call Mark. I did not tell her to cancel anything. Before she left, she said, "If I use the ride, don't make me promise I'm done." I won't. And don't tell Mom and Dad yet. That was the confidence I could have spilled across my dining table. I could have repeated Owen's words. I could have told Mark his daughter had selected a pickup place before I ever expressed an opinion about her wedding. I might have cleared myself for half a minute. Then Lila would have learned that even the quietest door in her family opened into a room where adults discussed her without her. Mark tapped the index card. The venue installment was $3,200. It becomes non-refundable tonight. If she gets cold feet because you enjoy being needed, stop, I said. He did, perhaps because I seldom raised my voice and had not raised it then. You may be angry with me. You may remove me from every wedding task. You may not make me responsible for a decision Lila has not even announced. Paula pushed the card toward me once more. Sign it and we can all calm down. No. Mark picked it up. The chair legs struck my floor when he stood. Then you will not do the reading at the ceremony, he said. You will not be at the rehearsal. We'll decide about the supper after we know whether you can respect us. Paula paused at the door. For one moment she looked less angry than frightened. Do you understand what happens if this wedding falls apart? I understand that you will blame me. She left without denying it. The next morning, the family wedding chat showed a new schedule. My name was gone from the rehearsal reading. Aunt Celia had been assigned to collect place cards, a task I had been doing. Paula posted a cheerful reminder about the engagement supper in 4 weeks and asked everyone to avoid negative side conversations. Mark called while I stood in the cereal aisle at Bell Creek Market. You embarrassed your mother-in-law, I said. She is my wife. Those facts can coexist. This is not funny. It was not. I set a box of oats back on the shelf because my hands had begun to shake. He told me they had paid the venue installment that morning. In their agreement, that portion would not be returned if the wedding was canceled. He spoke as if writing the check had converted Lila's answer into family property. You still have time to fix this, he said. Lila may call me directly. I will not discuss her through a group. So that's it? That is what I can offer. I left the wedding chat before he could remove me. The choice felt small until Sunday, when my phone stayed silent through the hour Lila usually called. By evening, I had checked it often enough to embarrass myself. An unfamiliar number rang twice and stopped. I called back once. No one answered. I did not decide it was Lila. Fear is talented at turning blank spaces into messages, and I had promised her I would not make mine her burden. That afternoon, Paula came by for the white serving platters she had borrowed at Christmas. She did not step inside. I brought the platters to the porch one at a time, wrapped in old towels, while she stood beside the open trunk of her car. Lila barely speaks to me, she said. I'm sorry. Are you? I placed the second platter beside the first. Yes. Then tell me what she tells you. No. Paula pulled one towel away and inspected the china as if looking for a crack. Mothers are supposed to know when their daughters are in trouble. Daughters are supposed to be able to tell their mothers without being corrected before they finish. She looked toward my front window. You think you did everything better. That accusation hurt, because I had sometimes thought exactly that. Mark had raised Lila. Paula had sat through fevers, school concerts, and the first terrible year after Lila's best friend moved away. I was not the hidden parent waiting to be recognized. I was her grandmother. And lately, I had one advantage. Lila did not believe that disappointing me would collapse my life. No, I said. I think she is trying to say something neither of us likes. Paula shut the trunk. Owen says couples go through this before weddings. He says outside opinions make it worse. What does Lila say? Paula's face tightened. She got into the car without answering. That exchange changed my understanding of her. She was not simply helping Owen silence Lila. She was frightened that listening might require her to admit how often she had mistaken an organized wedding for a safe future. Fear did not excuse the confession card. It explained why she kept reaching for it. On Monday, I met my old courthouse friend Nadine at a diner near the square. She had worked in records where she distrusted drama but enjoyed details. I told her only what belonged to me: the accusation, the card, and my refusal. "You want me to say you did right," she said. "I would not object." "Did Lila ask you to defend her?" "No." "Did she ask you to defend yourself?" "No." "Then what are you drafting under the table?" I had my phone in my lap. On the screen was a message to Lila listing every reason I believed Owen's behavior was wrong. I put the phone beside my coffee. Nadine read only the first line before turning it face down. "You spent years helping people find the correct door. You did not drag them through it." I hate looking guilty. That is the price in front of you. It may not be the largest price in the room. I deleted the draft. Lila called before I reached home. "Does the spare room lock?" she asked. "From the inside, yes. The key is on the dresser." "Could I see it?" She arrived after sunset in her own car. She left it 2 streets away and walked the last block, a choice I noticed and did not question. In the spare room, she opened the closet, tested the window, and sat on the edge of the bed. "Blue is nice," she said. The room was beige. "You hate it," I said. "I hate that I need to know." I sat in the desk chair. "Seeing a room does not require you to use it." She looked at the little brass key on the dresser. "Dad says you're trying to break us up." "What do you say?" "I say nobody has asked me." That was the first time she sounded angry. She told me Owen had begun answering messages from the photographer and florist in both their names. When she asked him to stop, he said, "Decisions went faster when one person handled the communication." He had drafted a notice for her supervisor saying she would leave the library after the honeymoon. He called it helpful preparation. "Did you send it?" I asked. "No, I deleted it." "What happened then?" "He restored it from the trash and asked why I was afraid to commit." She picked up the spare key. "If I take this, will you think I've decided?" "I will think you have a key." She slipped it into the side pocket of her bag. When she left, she did not stay. I watched her walk toward her car, then made myself turn away from the window before she reached the corner. 3 days later, Mark and Paula invited me to their kitchen. The index card had become a full page. Paula called it an apology, though the first paragraph still said I had damaged Lila's trust in Owen. "You don't have to admit intent," she said, "only impact." Whose words are these? The family's. Did Lila write any of them? Mark pushed back from the table. "Why must everything go through her now?" I almost laughed, but his question was too honest. "Because it is her wedding." He said the engagement supper would give us a chance to settle the matter in front of people who loved Lila. Owen would bring the venue cancellation page so she could understand the cost of hesitation. I asked whether Lila would be permitted to speak before I was asked to apologize. Paula said, "We are trying not to burden her with another interrogation." "Then I will not discuss her unless she is in the room." "Will you attend?" "Yes." "Will you apologize?" "No." "Will you support the wedding?" "I will support Lila speaking for herself." Mark stood at the sink with his back to me. "You always have to sound so careful," he said. I wanted to tell him careful words were the only kindness left between us. Instead, I put on my coat and went home. 2 nights later, the family chat I had left found another route to me. Cousin Beth called to ask whether she should still bring the lemon cake to the supper. Within 30 seconds, she was asking if it was true that I had never liked Owen. "The cake and Owen are separate questions," I said. "Mark says you are making everyone take sides." Then do not take one. That sounds like a side. I laughed despite myself. Beth did too, then became serious. June, if Lila does not want the wedding, why doesn't she just say so? It was the question the whole family preferred because it made courage sound like a switch. I could not tell Beth that Lila was measuring work, housing, money, privacy, grief, and the chance that she might still love a man whose rules frightened her. I could only say, perhaps nobody has made saying no feel like the beginning of a conversation. Beth was quiet. Should I bring the cake? Ask Paula. After we hung up, I understood why Mark wanted my signature in front of relatives. A private accusation had left him with a family full of questions. A public confession would give everyone permission to stop asking them. The following week, Lila came out through the library loading entrance at 5:20. She got into my passenger seat without asking me to drive. I waited with the engine off. If a wedding is canceled, she said, does everybody get to send you a bill? I don't know what each agreement says. The venue money your parents paid may be gone. That does not make every loss yours to repay. Want says they can't absorb $3,200. What does she want you to do? Stop being confused. Are you confused? Lila looked through the windshield at a cart of returned books by the loading door. I am afraid, she said. That isn't the same thing. It was the first sentence she had spoken that did not ask me to measure her fear for her. She told me she wanted to keep her job. She wanted her temporary address withheld from Owen. She wanted to decide, one person at a time, who could contact her. She had asked Celia to stand near the side exit at the supper. Celia knew only that Lila might need company, not where she would stay. I don't want you to be the only person helping me, Lila said. I felt a small, shameful pinch. Being the safe grandmother had begun to matter to me. Nadine's question returned. Was I protecting Lila or protecting my place as the person she trusted? That is sensible, I said. Bring your car to the supper. Park by the side door. Don't come in after me if I leave. All right. Wait for the word. I will. She rested her hand on the door latch. And if I say something in there, don't answer for me afterward either. I won't. That promise frightened me more than the ride. On Thursday morning, Mark came to the volunteer pantry where I worked twice a week. He needed the boxes of paper lanterns stored in the back room. 2 other volunteers were packing canned beans when he said, in a voice meant to sound casual, Mom won't be involved in the wedding until she learns to respect boundaries. Both women looked down at their boxes. Every defense I could have made would have required a story about Lila. I handed Mark the lanterns. You may talk about your boundary, I said. You may not describe mine for me. He gave a tired smile. There, that tone, like we're strangers at your desk. Strangers usually let each other finish. He carried the boxes out. I completed my shift, then told the pantry coordinator I would take the next 2 Thursdays off. She asked if Mark had made me uncomfortable. I said the family needed fewer public rooms to perform in. That answer cost me something. The pantry was where I had learned to be retired without becoming invisible. For the next 2 weeks, Thursday mornings became long. The night of the engagement supper, I parked beside the church social hall's side door. The lot was bright and nearly full. I could see paper lanterns through the windows, including the box Mark had collected. Inside, a place card put me at the far end of the longest table. Lila sat between Owen and Paula near the center. Aunt Celia was 2 chairs from the side exit. Owen wore the blue tie Lila had given him at Christmas. He stood when I approached and kissed my cheek as though no private accusation existed. Glad you chose family, he said. I have been choosing family all month. His smile held. When I sat down, I noticed Lila's phone beside Owen's plate. We're keeping the table calm, he explained. Lila looked at the phone. I need it. You don't. She held out her hand. It was a small moment. No one stopped eating. Owen waited long enough to make the waiting visible, then placed the phone in her palm. Lila moved to the empty chair beside Celia. Mark rose before dessert. He thanked everyone for supporting the couple through a difficult patch created by outside doubts. Then he took the index card from his jacket and tapped it against his water glass. The sound was too soft to command a room. Family attention did the rest. "Mom and I have had a misunderstanding," he said. "She has agreed to correct it tonight so we can move forward." "I did not agree," I said. Paula whispered my name. Mark continued. He said older relatives sometimes mistook protectiveness for authority. He said private worries had been magnified. Then he invited Owen to explain the commitments marriage required. Owen did not sound cruel. That mattered. He sounded reasonable in the practiced way of a man describing rules he expected everyone else to find ordinary. "There can't be secret channels," he said. "A husband and wife share passwords. We present one account to both families. We don't let every disagreement become a committee discussion." Lila's fingers tightened around her phone. "And the library?" Celia asked. Owen looked at Lila before he answered. "We agreed it doesn't make sense after the honeymoon. I travel. She needs flexibility." "I did not agree," Lila said. Mark placed a printed page beside her plate. "This is the venue cancellation section. Your mother and I paid $3,200 because we trusted you." "Dad, just read it before this goes any further." The room had become very quiet. I could see the direction every face had turned. They were looking at Lila, but they were waiting for me. Before Mark reached my chair, Paula tried once more to return the evening to its planned shape. She announced that coffee was ready. Beth stood halfway, then sat again. Celia folded her napkin and placed it beside her plate. "We are not doing this to shame anybody," Paula said. "We are doing it because families correct one another." Lila looked at her mother. "When do I get to correct you?" Paula opened her mouth and closed it. Owen leaned toward Lila with his voice lowered, although the room was silent enough for everyone to hear. "This is exactly what I mean. You get upset, and then everyone has to stop. I asked for my phone, and I gave it to you. After I asked twice." He spread his hands. "Because I was trying to protect the evening." Owen spoke as if returning her property proved generosity. Paula spoke as if correction moved only toward the youngest person. Mark held the cancellation page as if money had earned him an answer. Together, their ordinary sentences gave Lila the answer she had once asked me to provide. I did not interpret it. Mark carried the card to my end of the table and set a pen beside it. "Sign," he said. "Then tell her these doubts came from you." I looked at Lila. She had asked me not to answer for her. "Lila is in the room," I said. "Ask Lila. I am asking my mother to repair what she damaged. Ask Lila." Paula stood. "She has been asked enough. She is exhausted because you keep making her choose." Lila pushed her chair back. Owen reached for her phone. "Sit down. We can finish this privately." She moved the phone behind her. Mark turned to me. "Tell her to sit." "No." It was the shortest word I spoke that night. It changed nothing by itself. It only removed the last place they could put Lila's decision. Lila asked Mark for the microphone he had used for the blessing. He hesitated. Celia took it from the table and passed it to her. Lila did not stand at the front. She stayed beside the exit. "Grandma did not tell me to leave Owen," she said. "She did not tell me to cancel. She gave me one ride I could ask for and a room I did not have to use." Owen said, "That is still interference." Lila looked at him. "You wrote a resignation letter in my name. You answer vendors in my name. You want my passwords, and when I say no, you call privacy a plan to leave. Tonight you kept my phone because you wanted the table calm. We can talk about this at home. I'm not going home with you." Paula began to cry. Mark put both palms on the table. Do not throw away your future over one bad month. It is not one bad month, Lila's voice shook, and the money does not buy another answer. She set the microphone down. The wedding is canceled. Nobody applauded. One cousin looked at the floor. An uncle reached for his water and knocked the glass over. Owen's face lost color. You don't mean that, he said. Lila removed her ring. She did not throw it. She put it beside the printed cancellation page. I do. Owen turned toward me. You planned this. I wanted to say no with every detail I had protected. I wanted to tell the room about the library cafe, the spare key, the draft resignation, the employee lot. Instead, I kept the promise that had made those details safe. Lila has answered you, I said. Mark pointed at the door. If you leave with her, you have destroyed this family. I did not move. Lila sent a message. Celia rose, took her coat, and walked beside her through the side exit. Only when they were outside did my phone show one word. Now. I stood. The confession card remained beside my plate, unsigned. I left it there. The choice that mattered had never belonged on that card. Outside, Celia stood with Lila beneath the parking lot light. I unlocked the car. Lila chose the back seat and asked Celia to sit with her. I drove without asking for an address until Lila said mine. Halfway home, she began to cry. There was no relief in it yet. She cried for Owen, for the wedding, for her parents, and perhaps for the version of herself who had thought endurance would eventually feel like certainty. At my duplex, she stood in the spare room doorway with the brass key already in her hand. I might hate you tomorrow, she said. You may. I might miss him. You may. Don't say it like that. How should I say it? She wiped her face with both palms. I don't know. Then I can be quiet. Celia made tea. None of us drank it. Calls began before midnight. Owen called Lila until she turned off her phone. Paula called me. Mark sent a message saying I owed them $3,200 and the truth. I blocked Owen's number on my phone because I had no reason to hear from him. I left Mark unblocked. Lila chose one message for her parents. I am safe. I will contact you directly when I am ready. Do not ask Grandma where I am. She did not send her location. She did not write an explanation of the supper. She did not promise a date. I sent Mark my own message. One message a week. I will not discuss Lila or carry messages to her. If you threaten or arrive without invitation, I will stop reading them. His reply came immediately. You have always wanted her to need you. That sentence found the part of me Nadine had already exposed. I had enjoyed being trusted. I had imagined that being different from Mark and Owen made every instinct of mine harmless. It did not. I put the phone in a drawer. The next morning, Lila dressed for work. Her eyes were swollen. She clipped on her library badge and asked me where the nearest bus stop was. I can drive you. I know. I drew the route on the back of an envelope, then stopped myself from adding alternate buses. She took the envelope. Thank you. At 8:10, she walked toward the bus stop. At 8:15, I nearly followed in my car to make sure she boarded. I stood at the window until the urge passed. The venue installment was gone. Paula confirmed it in her first weekly message, though my boundary had been addressed to Mark. She wrote that the money represented sacrifice and trust. I did not argue about the agreement or offer to replace it. They had chosen to pay it while Lila was asking to be heard. Losing it was painful. It did not make her marriage an unpaid debt. The first week in my spare room was not peaceful. Lila slept badly. She missed Owen and became angry when I looked relieved on the mornings she still chose work. Once, she packed her bag and sat with it on the bed for an hour. Do you want a ride? I asked. No. All right. She glared at me. You could try harder. Would that help? No. She unpacked only her work clothes. The rest stayed in the bag for 2 days. On the third night, Owen sent a message from a new number. Lila did not show me the words. She sat at my kitchen table with the phone face down and asked whether I thought a person could mean an apology and still want the old arrangement back. Yes, I said. That was fast. You asked what I thought. She turned the phone over but kept the screen against the table. He says he only pushed about work because he thought I would be happier. He says passwords are not important. He says we could postpone instead of cancel. What do you want to do? I want you to tell me he is lying. I don't know whether he believes it. That is not useful. No. She walked out of the kitchen and shut the spare room door. 10 minutes later, she opened it again. If I answer him, will you be angry? No. If I do not answer? No. You make everything sound simple. It is not simple. The choice is still yours. She did not answer that night. The next morning, she asked Celia to sit with her while she wrote one message saying the engagement remained over and she did not want direct contact. She did not ask me to read it. That stung for about 5 seconds. Then I recognized it as the thing I said I wanted for her. More than one safe person and choices that did not need my approval. We did not create a new family ceremony around her leaving. Celia came by when invited. A co-worker met Lila for lunch. Nadine dropped off a lamp and did not ask a single question about Owen. Lila decided who knew the address. On the second Saturday, we looked at an apartment above a hardware store. The rent would have swallowed nearly half her take-home pay. I loved the clean hallway and wanted to say we could make it work. Lila read the numbers and said no. Are you disappointed? She asked outside. Yes. Why? Because I wanted the first door to solve everything. She smiled for the first time since the supper. You're getting dramatic. It runs in the family. We looked at 3 more places. She rejected one because the landlord would not show her the actual unit. Another had a bus route that stopped too early for her evening shifts. The fourth was a small studio over a dentist's office, with one deep window and a radiator that knocked when it warmed. Lila visited twice before applying. During those weeks, I returned to the pantry. The coordinator did not ask for an explanation. She handed me a marker and pointed to 6 cartons of canned peaches that needed dates. Mark did not come in. Nobody lowered a voice when I entered. The ordinariness was a relief I had not known to request. Beth brought the lemon cake she had frozen after the canceled supper. She set it in the break room and said, "It seemed foolish to keep saving it for the right family event." We cut it into uneven pieces for the volunteers. I did not tell myself this was a new tradition. It was cake on a Thursday. Recovery became believable to me only when I stopped requiring every peaceful moment to announce what it meant. She kept her job. That ordinary sentence contains more recovery than anything I could say about courage. She got up after bad nights, answered reference questions, returned home tired, and put part of each paycheck toward the deposit on a place she had selected herself. Mark used his weekly messages badly at first. Week 1, tell Lila her mother is sick with worry. Week 2, we deserve to know whether she is making permanent decisions. Week 3, you cannot keep punishing us. I answered each with the same line. Contact with Lila is Lila's decision. In week 4, he did not write. In week 5, he said he had listened to the recording someone made at the supper. I had not known a recording existed and did not ask for it. He wrote that hearing himself order me to make Lila sit had unsettled him. I answered, then think about why. In week 6, his message read, I accused you because it was easier than hearing what she said. I used the money to pressure her. I am sorry. I will not ask you to deliver this to Lila. There was no but. By then, Lila had signed the lease on the studio. She moved on a windy Saturday with Celia, one library co-worker, and me. Owen did not know the address. Mark and Paula did not know it either. The brass spare key had been in Lila's bag for almost 7 weeks. When the last box was inside, she held it out. "You can keep it until you're settled," I said. "I am settling. That's different." I took it back. There was no speech. She needed to return a key, not complete a symbol. Her studio did not look like freedom in a magazine. The sofa was second-hand. 2 cabinet doors did not match. The radiator knocked. She had enough money for either curtains or a small kitchen table that month, and she chose the table. "People can see in," I said. "Then they can watch me eat." She said it dryly, and I let it remain funny. At week 8, I met Mark at the courthouse diner in daylight. I chose a booth near the front window. That was not drama or strategy. It was where I felt comfortable. He looked older than he had 2 months before. Grief can be genuine even when the person grieving helped cause the loss. "I was wrong," he said. I waited. I wanted the wedding to prove we had done right by her. Owen was organized. He included us. When Lila hesitated, he told us you had been against him from the beginning. That story cost less than the other one. It cost me. I know. It cost Lila more. He looked through the window at the courthouse steps. "Do you forgive me?" "I accept that you have apologized for accusing me." "That is not what I asked." "It is what I can answer." He nodded once. Then he asked when he could see Lila. "You will have to ask Lila." "Can you tell her I'm ready?" "No." The old frustration passed across his face. For a moment I thought he would accuse me again. Instead, he folded his napkin. "One conversation," he said. "One." We left separately. I did not sit in my car rehearsing what I should have said. That was how I knew something in me had changed too. At 10 weeks, Lila invited 5 people to her studio for what she called an open door hour. Celia came. 2 library co-workers came. I came with a bakery box and no casserole. There was no family table arranged to prove we had replaced anyone. People stood where they liked. One co-worker declined cake. Lila said, "All right," and moved the plates along. The other left after 20 minutes because her child needed help with homework. Nobody made her explain further. Near the end, Celia asked if the open door hour would happen every month. "Maybe," Lila said. "Invitations will be direct, and no one has to give a reason for no." She said it while collecting paper cups, not as a lesson. The room kept moving around the sentence. Mark had not been invited. Paula had not been invited. Lila had sent each of them one message from her own phone, saying she was safe and would decide later whether she wanted contact. She did not tell me what they replied. I did not ask. When I put on my coat, Lila said, "Do you need a ride?" "I have my car." "I know." We both heard the shape of the old answer. Neither of us explained it. 2 days later, my phone rang just after lunch. Lila was calling from the apartment she had chosen, after a shift she had kept, on a number nobody else was holding for her. "Are you busy?" she asked. "No." "My car is available." I looked through my front window. Autumn had reached the maple beside the curb. I could have asked where we were going. I could have asked how long we would be out, whether she had enough gas, whether something had happened. "All right," I said. 10 minutes later, Lila pulled up in her own car. She was driving. I locked my door, walked down the steps, and got into the passenger seat. I did not ask for the destination.